Coming up is race number 5 on the Arlington Million Day program at Churchill Downs on Saturday is the $500,000 Grade 1 Beverly D. It is a win and you're in for the filly and mare turf for the Breeders' Cup. Joe Kristufek and Scott Shapiro joining you. And Scott, a compact field of 5 in the Beverly D, but you could quite honestly make a case for any of the 5 of them.
Without question, Joe, a very competitive race, as you mentioned, the 1 1/8 over the newly renovated turf course here at Churchill Downs. I think the key to the race is going to be what Dalika does, because Princess Grace, I think, will be prominent, could probably sit second, but probably would prefer to be on the front end under Florent Giroux. Now, Dalika, we think of as a front runner, wasn't on the lead last time in the Diana when in Italian absolutely speed burnt that field. Now you get Brian Hernandez Jr. up for the first time instead of Ricardo Santana Jr. I think of Ricardo a little bit more of an aggressive rider. So there is a chance that Brian Hernandez Jr. at a 1 1/8 takes this one in hand and maybe sits second and allows Florent Giroux and Princess Grace to go to the lead. But there is also that chance that both of them go at it on the front end, setting it up for those from off the pace.
Yeah, Dalika, the elder statesman in the field at the age of 5 for trainer Al Stahl. And she's had some success over the Churchill Downs turf course in the past. Like you mentioned, though, a new turf course here under the Twin Spires. Lane 3, 24 feet out. The Arlington Million will be run at home base. And there's no doubt that Chad Brown has had a ton of success in this race, Scott. He's won it 6 times. He's won 5 of the last 6. But Rougier is not Sister Charlie.
No, she is not. Although Peter Brandt was the owner of Sister Charlie. He owns a piece of Rougier, who really put forth a strong effort in the first start of her 4-year-old campaign in the Beaugay at Belmont, but is underwhelmed in each of the last 2 starts. Now, the last start in the Diana against the race, got out of the gate slow. Even Bleecker Street, the stablemate who beat her in the start before in the New York, neither of them ran very well. It was dominated by front runners, but the New York was troublesome. You could also maybe look at that race and make an excuse that it was kind of a Euro bounce, as we like to call it here in the States. But Rougier likely to be the favorite, 2-1 on oddsmaker Mike Battaglia's morning line. I think she's probably the likeliest winner, Joe, but I'm not really willing to swallow the chalk.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's some positives and there's some negatives. The biggest negative in the compact field of 5, most likely the expected price. Manny Franco staying in New York to ride Mason and the 4-star Dave. This is the only grade or Group 1 winner in the field, Scott. But quite honestly, her last couple of races to me, and you alluded to it, a little bit underwhelming, albeit against better horses in totality than she's facing on Saturday.
No doubt about it. Diana, a Grade 1, just like the Beverly D, but we saw a number of Chad Brown runners in there. You could easily make the case that almost all of the best fillies and mares, older fillies and mares, were in that event. That's not the case here. So class relief, despite it being another Grade 1 for Rougier, but the price will probably be too short for me.
Johnny Velasquez has won this race 2 of the last 3 years, but for Chad Brown, he lands on the Aidan O'Brien trained Euro Invader Lily Pond. Aidan winning this race last year with Santa Barbara, who could not have been any more impressive. Lily Pond, I think, is going to be a little bit forward from the outside. She sat second in her most recent race before getting the job done.
Right. Second over there in Ireland, not quite the same kind of speed normally as we see in the States. So I would expect her to be prominent to an extent, but I don't think she'll be anywhere near as quick as Dalika and Princess Grace. Joe, I'm not really sure the races she's come out of. I'd be lying if I said I knew the races over there as well as I do here. But the second place finisher in that race, Cisse, has now lost 7 in a row. The only 2 wins came back in 2021 against non-graded stakes competition. The third place finisher, one for Bobby, came back to run 6th in a field of 8 in her next start. I'm against Lily Pond in here, although I have major respect for the connections.
She's been here, reports about how she's been acting in the morning, slow to adjust maybe to her new surroundings. She's a 3-year-old taking on older, and much like Rougier, she's going to get quite a bit of attention at the windows as well. We'll get to our top picks in a moment or two. Family Way is interesting, Scott. Now, this one is lost to maybe the 2 best turf females in training, or at least 2 of the best, in Warlike Goddess and Bleecker Street in their last couple. But those races over 1.5 miles and 1.25 miles respectively, this is 9 furlongs.
Yes, it is. And she'll cut back, as you mentioned, Bay, coming out of those 2 races, lost nothing in defeat neither time, finishing second to Bleecker Street and Warlike Goddess. I'm a little bit concerned that the 1 1/8 sharper than what Family Way wants. but she's shown an affinity for the turf course, a 1-for-1 record, albeit the old turf course, so maybe not applicable here. But I just think she's going to get the right trip and maybe can get the jump on Rougier and Lily Pond from off the pace, or at least Rougier. I'm not sure about Lily Pond's trip. And, take Delika and Princess Grace when they turn for home. So lukewarm top pick for me. I've bounced around quite a bit. 3-1 on the line. I'll go with Tyler Gaffalione and Brendan Walsh. They've definitely teamed up for a lot of wins here under the Twin Spires.
Yeah, Brendan's been pointing this horse to this race all along. Comes into this race fresh. Tyler Gaffalione's won 7 consecutive riding titles at Churchill Downs. And Scott, she's only tried 9 furlongs one time. It was at Churchill. She got in a ton of trouble and she won. And she's a better horse now than she was back then. So I'm with you on Family Way, who most likely is going to be the third, maybe even the fourth choice, albeit at a shortish price. I don't expect anybody in this race to go off at higher than 8-1, and that's pretty much how Mike Battaglia's morning line sees it.
Yeah, I think Mike did a good job with this morning line. Delika, slowest on numbers, has a little bit of a class check here, but the rest of them, I could see it going a number of ways. Probably Family Way will be about that 3-1 price. If so, I might jump in for a few bucks.
I've got Princess Grace picked second. She's a win machine. She's 7 for 11, but we're talking a lot of grade 3s, suspect grade 2s, et cetera, et cetera. She does have a versatile style, though, and again, as a likely third or fourth choice, I give her a chance in my Bluegrass 6, which we'll talk about in a moment. I'm probably going to use her and Family Way.
Understandable. Florent Giroux's been on this board this horse 3 times recently. All 3 resulted in wins. The mile and an eighth, a little bit concerned, and she really hasn't moved forward in terms of numbers as a 4-year-old and 5-year-old. She was very good earlier on in her career. Sorry, as a 5-year-old, she was a 4-year-old, was pretty dominant last year. We'll see. Definitely should get a good trip up near the top under Florent Giroux.
Scott, this is the start of the $1, 15% takeout Bluegrass 6. 3 stake races on Saturday at Churchill Downs, 3 stake races on Sunday at Ellis Park. Fun wager. Certainly looking to forward to getting involved at Twin Spires.
Without question, Ellis Park giving up the date for Churchill Downs. Very appreciative of that here in Louisville, and looking forward to that pick 6 as well.
Race number 5 on the 11 race Arlington Million Days Saturday program at Churchill is the grade 1 Beverly D, a winner you're in for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. For Scott Shapiro, I'm Joe Kristufek. We're both going with Family Way on top.